the host of a television program called Talking with Famous People that broadcasts on your television irregularly. Regularly, but not predictably so. You might say, why? Nobody knows, least of all me. So, this stream is titled Cognitive Functions and More. The only reason I even titled it Cognitive Functions is because I just saw a notification for this ridiculous comment on some video of mine in which this person says, you know, TI is not more correct or more about what's true. It's about totally about personal opinion. And I just thought, okay. Well, of course, the thing is, every function has its own kind of metric for validation if you want to treat it as an object of analysis. So, there's, whether or not it's TI or not has nothing to do with whether it's an opinion or not, quote unquote. TI is a way of calculating the legitimacy of one way of calculating the legitimacy of a given opinion, provided it's in a context of other things. You know, I mean, TI will ask for validation or justification for a given claim, but in the absence of a claim with any justification, then TI can't really do much with it except point out that, you know, it's lacking in substantiation. Hi, Iron Line. Let me pull up the live stream on the big screen so that together we can prosper. We can live long and prosper like the Vulcans from Star Trek. You like prospering, don't you? I hear you're into prospering. Okay, there. Now I need to pull this up here. This is somewhat attention consuming, trying to get this all processed here. But I'll be with you in a moment. I'll be with you not just in physicality, but in spirit in just a moment. Here I am. Pause this. Go to the chat. There we are. Hi, Gyalt. Hi, Ahmed King. Hi, Putty Cat. I'm fine. How are you? Well, I was pleased with yesterday's game. Obviously, today's game, less so. But I don't know. I knew we were in for a tough road trip when I saw Tigers and Yankees on the schedule. So taking losing 2 out of 3 to the Tigers isn't a huge shock. I wish we put up a better fight. And like 2 losses. What is the best cognitive function and why is it NI? Well, there's no best cognitive function. What's your opinion on jalapeno bacon cheeseburgers? Just lose the jalapenos. You introduce yourself. My name is Ahmed Mohammed Darwish. I am from Egypt. Hello, Ahmed Mohammed Darwish from Egypt. I am Eric Strauss from California. This is my wife, Rachel Strauss. She's also, obviously, from California since we live together and everything.
We do. It's not a split screen. I'm not a hologram. I'm real.
Yeah. No, I'm not sitting with you physically in that sense. You can see me. I'm physically visible. I'm Love Us. Well, I'm Love Us too. Every time I see a pepper spray, I wonder, can I cook with it? You probably shouldn't. I don't know if you can or not, but I would recommend you not do that. Felt tripped out last night. Couldn't get to the store. You couldn't get to the store to get jalapeno bacon cheeseburgers? Sorry to hear that. I'm deeply, deeply sorry to hear that. Favorite wrestler? John Cena. I don't have a favorite wrestler. LA is considering raising minimum wage at $30 per hour. What do you think? I think it's a terrible idea, obviously. You know full well what I think. The feeling when you feel like you're made of air and inexplicably high despite sobriety and it feels like you might forget to breathe. I kind of know what you're talking about, I guess. Existential terror, maybe? Talking with the famous what? It's called Talking with Famous People, Super Chat. Thank you for asking me to clarify the name. I appreciate that. A pepper spray saved me from a stalker once. Well, good for you and the pepper spray, bad for the stalker? Well, wrestling is fake, though. Talking with famous gyats. I'm glad you know. That's so pleasing to me. So, you know, it's kind of a ordinary day.
Hey, Winston's mom, you're back.
Hey, Winston's mom's back. Wow, look at that. Hi, Winston's mom. I'm 54. How old are you? Well, some of them probably are not trying to be creepy. They just can't really help it or something. I don't know. I think generally speaking, people don't try to be creepy, but there could be plenty of exceptions, I suppose. You're 9,000 years old. Wow, that's pretty old. That's almost 9,000 years older than me. How are your knees holding up at 9,000? Think chicken should be fried, baked, or grilled? Fried, really. Yeah, fair enough, Hero Lamb. Fair enough. People shouldn't harass people, that's for sure. So I guess what I really found myself thinking about um, when I read that comment was not so much like, oh God, I need to correct this person, but just a sense of how, like, I can't even bother anymore. Like, it's just so beating one's head against the wall because, like, that person doesn't have the slightest idea how to think about cognitive functions. And he sees people who are maybe TI heavy, maybe this is what he's thinking, and seeing that they're more vocal in their opinions, maybe. And therefore think that they're more about personal opinion because they're less relativistic or something. But, you know, of course it's a projection of their frame, whatever it is. Grab the camera for a Lamar Jackson edit. What does that mean?
No, I'm not going clubbing this weekend, Pretty Cat.
I'm also not going clubbing this weekend. It's likely to be a very sedate weekend. You live in Cairo? Live with your mom and dad? Your dad works as a taxi driver? Cool. Club music sucks big time right now, says Hero Lamb. I have not been to the club, so I don't know. But if I were gonna go to the club, I obviously would have to make it rain. Say hi to Dill. Okay. Mr. Doe, I just want to say hi to you. Dance clubs are cool if you live in the decent city. Well, I don't know if I ever really went to any clubs like that. Went to plenty of bars and such, but I'm not sure what turns something from a bar into a club. How do you? You are a student in college and you have not cleared the Italian exam. Why are you being given an Italian exam in Egypt? No, I'm not going to turn my shit into a club. Well, rednecks know how to party. You're at Ein Chams University? No, I'm not going to grab the camera. Why would I grab the camera? You mean the phone? It's already on a tripod. I don't need to grab it at all. I don't know why anybody would want a Lamar Jackson edit, whatever that means. Is it it's some non-YouTube thing. Like a TikTok thing or something. I don't know anything about TikTok. I'm neither a ticker nor a talker. I'm a YouTuber. Well, thanks, Ahmed King. That's nice of you to say. I try to be a good person, best I can.
You are.
Thanks. Goat J. Brame. The greatest J. Brame of all time. Atahua. Atahua. What does that mean? Is that like half aha, half sneeze? Probably got you and I were of the same mindset there. It means beautiful, huh? Great. Yeah. So, ordinary day, ordinary ways. Nothing of particular note happening in the stream today. I'm not, you know, in a ranty mood, for example, which would lead me to carry on about this or that. If you're a scumbag with money, you can't buy being a decent person. That's true. I want John Cena to win against CM Punk. Okay, well, I hope that for you. Okay,
Me too, yeah.
Personally, I'm not one to care particularly, but I want it for you. Slick says I need to go to Cobra Kai. I don't want to go to Cobra Kai. That sounds like getting jostled a lot to me. Who wants to get jostled all the time? If I were to go to Cobra Kai, I'd have a strict no contact rule.
I like that. Can I join your Cobra Kai?
Of course, darling. I'm down a bottle of rum and 2 blunts. Well, sounds like you're pretty close to going to bed. If it's the right girl, I'd be down with Joss King. Jostling? Yeah. Well, I wish that for you, Hero Man. I hope you jostle someone named Jocelyn. You're a Wing Chun master, huh? What's Wing Chun? This bowl's not pulling through properly. There. That's better. Something happened to see, and I think I can feel it coming my way. You can feel it coming in the air tonight? The universe is going to send Hero Lamb the best chick ever. The universe is not going to send you Rachel. I'm sorry, Hero Lamb.
Aw, thanks, guys.
You're just going to have to go with second best.
You're my doll.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
Hi, Zururi. How are you? Your face, it is your profile picture. It looks like somebody saying, "Did I do that?"
Yeah.
Good for you, Slick. 你好吗？我打你。I'm doing A-OK like Ray OJ. I'm doing fine. It's an ordinary day. It's an ordinary day. There's nothing particularly exciting going on. It's fine. If you were my cab driver, I might say to you, Hong Chao Lu, Shui Chong Lu. Is this Wim Hof? I don't know what Wim Hof is. So the answer is no. I don't think Phil Collins has any good songs, really. I don't think that I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight is a good song, really.
Yeah.
I don't like it anyway. I also don't like Susu Studio.
That's a good bad song.
You're excited. Well, may excitement rule the day. Wim Hof, also known as the Iceman, is a Dutch motivational speaker and extreme athlete noted for his ability to withstand low temperatures. He previously held a Guinness World Record for swimming.
I'm gonna look up what planets are in retrograde right now.
Okay. Motivational speaker. And it's a weird thing. It's like, I'm qualified to speak at everybody because of some non speaking thing. No, the best people to speak to people are the people who are best at speaking. Not who have some experience to give them legitimacy in someone's eyes. That's just silly. Like, in what way does being able to withstand low temperatures
So apparently, the planet that is in retrograde is only one, and it's Pluto.
Pluto's in retrograde, huh?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, usually it's like the planet of transformation and like depth and going in psychologically. So I guess the opposite of that would be like
Psychological
staying
shallowness?
yeah, psychological shallowness, yeah. Staying the same. I don't know. Let me see. How long will Pluto?
Well, I've never seen this Goggins fellow.
Oh, Walter Goggins. Oh,
David Goggins. He's like a workout guy or something. A lot of people kind of are into working out, I guess, but I'm not.
It's in retrograde until October 13th.
Until when?
October 13th.
This is a long time from now. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you're on your own, like Goggins and others say, is a terrible message and not true. I think it's probably true for them, I guess. I have no advice for you on that, King. Patrick, man, life in Cali is good. Things are going well. You know, it's kind of like end of a bottle, coming into sleepy week. Not super high energy. Because I don't know how to give you advice about your mom getting mad at you. If your mom gets mad at you, then I don't know why she gets mad at you or anything like that. Or why she shouldn't or anything. I don't have any idea.
There's so many variations on what it could be.
Yeah. Pluto relates to death and rebirth, the underworld, destruction and regeneration, the instincts, transformation, elemental power, sacrifice.
So what retrograde means is that it'll be the opposite of all those things. All those things that Pluto represents will be the opposite of.
What's the clearest sign of someone having introverted intuition? concision in their speech. But the thing is, it matters a lot what slot it's in. If you're saying, how do you know if it's front stack versus back stack, you can generally tell pretty easily unless it's 4-5. So, like, it's harder to tell with ESTPs, ESFPs, ENTPs, ENFPs. But for the rest of them, the rest of the types, it's usually pretty easy to tell if they're SI front stack or NI front stack. And you got to look at concision and also the amount of examples they give and the uh, amount of personal anecdotes they share. Kim says, "Oh, I'm ENFP." Hi, ENFP Kim. How are you? You smoked salvia yesterday. And you must say it was the greatest, scariest experience of my life. It's much more likely to cause you the latter than the former. I've never heard anybody say they really enjoyed it. Okay, so let's ask this. What are we asking? I need a beverage. Got another water. You're waiting? If you meet someone and they tell you their whole family history, is it safe to say they're SI? Yeah, that's probably pretty SI. Then the less they seem to get the relevance of their SI, the worse their NI is. So, I mean, you know, you're looking at 7th or 8th slot NI if you get a lot of detailed anecdotes about stuff without a lot of linkage to anything's relevance. Where am I going? I went to the kitchen to get a water. That's where I went. But we'll go outside and have a cigarette in a little bit.
You know how these Cokes have like bro and whatever? So on the next time I pull out a cis, I'm gonna put female next to it.
That's spelled CIS.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, people tend to have like out of control moments with salvia. Like I blacked out, and all of a sudden I came to you and I was like, somebody was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Where are you going?" Something like that. So it's dangerous. I'd recommend being careful with that salvia or avoiding it. It's not fun either. That's the number one thing to take away from it, is that it's not fun. And accordingly, why bother doing it? How do you note SI3, SE7? Well, I mean, you'd look for indications of SE polar, a lot of procrastination kind of problems, and a lot of mulling things over before ever doing anything. Probably a backwards linkage between saying you're going to do something and actually doing something. But it can be the thing to remember about cognitive functions is either you'll be good at self-diagnosing or you'll be bad at self-diagnosing. Probably, I mean, I guess you can be more or less good or bad at it. But people who aren't good at self-reporting aren't necessarily going to be good at knowing they're not good at self-reporting. And you can be not good at self-reporting for a couple different reasons. It's like, yeah, you could, you know, you could be lacking in conscious access to subjective data, particularly SI data, which results in somebody not being good at self-reporting. Or you could be bad at self-reporting because you have, say, FI tool, and you know what you want to be and how you want to be described and understand yourself, rather than how you actually are. Either of those things will lead you to the same problem, which is they're not going to be able to be accurately typed by a self-reporting style test. It's going to have to be it's going to have to be somebody's going to have to type you for reals. I don't use that term. I think you mean eighth demon, eighth slot. It looks like if you have eighth slot SI, you're like Rachel. You have a very poor relationship with your subjective knowledge data. That is to say, you have a hard time knowing when you're getting sick, or when you have to pee, or when you're hungry or sleepy, and you have a very probably a challenging relationship with a lot of those SI expectations. How do you know the rest of your type if you're NI? Well, I mean, it's complicated, right? You got to be typed. I can't even type people via the chat, let alone give you a simple answer to that question. It it require there it requires you to know what you're doing and do it the right way. Uh, Most people probably shouldn't trust themselves to type themselves, but some people can. But it was style stuff and image stuff somehow, like looking mystic, for example. Yeah, I wanted to be more NI, but if I honest, I had to say it was superficial NI. I was trying to be NI. Huh. I'm an ENTP. Uh, I NI obviously has this kind of, you know, it's a sexier thing in the way it sounds, described on the internet than some of the other functions. But it's just it's as simple as the other way of knowing something rather than experience. So I might see a vehicle coming down the street and know it's the mailman because I experience the fact that the mailman, say, comes around this time every day and drives the same white van thing. It doesn't say mailman on it anywhere, but the point is, I might know from experience that that's the mailman coming. If I if I didn't have the experience of living here, I wouldn't necessarily intuit that that was the mailman because it's not a regular mail jeep or anything. So the thing about knowing and intuition is you might, for example, be driving down the street and you might see something that looks like a couple people huddled over here. When you get closer, you realize, oh no, it's just some trash cans and some trash that look like the shape of a person that I mistook as a person. That's your intuition being wrong. You might also have a situation where you expect Mia to be the same and somehow don't notice that it's not, etc. The point is, they're both ways of knowing, right? So what that means is that there's nothing mystical about either of them. It Intuition is simply the same thing as shape constancy, being able to tell what the identity of something is. Like if we didn't have any intuition at all, if we look at these tweezers, let's say, if we looked at these tweezers in this direction and this direction and this direction, we wouldn't know what they were ever until we had experienced every possible direction you could look at it in, because it wouldn't have what we call shape constancy. But shape constancy is basically the first stage of introverted intuition that babies develop. It's that's the analog to the SI equivalent of object permanence, the realization that things that aren't agents don't move unless somebody moves them. So NI is, we can also understand it as the communicative way of knowing, whereas SI is the experiential way of knowing.
Well, I wanted to see the thing about Ben Affleck.
I didn't. What thing about Ben Affleck?
Something about.
Is it on here?
Yeah. No. 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 No.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. This happens to me all the time.
Oh, there we go. Ben Affleck.
All right, here. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's artist equity signs overall theatrical deal with Sony.
What does that mean?
It means that it's a production company.
Oh, okay. That's boring.
Yeah. Hi, Kitty.
I thought there was like buddies on the town, something like that.
So the thing is that we understand things as having identities, and we understand things as having a place in our own personal story, in our own history. So if I say pineapple, on the one hand, we understand that it's an example of a certain kind of fruit that looks like meow, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, we might have a specific memory of a pineapple. I remember that time, it was just a couple of years ago, but it still sticks with me when Dad brought home the most delicious pineapple. If you're thinking about it in those terms, you're knowing about it by your own experience. If you're knowing things that are just universal about pineapples, you're knowing about it by your intuition. And if you're making specific claims about pineapples, and then you could be parsing those claims for validity based against TI or FI. So it could be like, I really like pineapples, which is kind of an FI, SI kind of a thing. Or it could be like the reason, it could be, it could be some sort of TE explanation, like the reason why pineapples don't grow in California. I'm sure they grow somewhere around here, but I don't think we ever buy California pineapples. So, I don't know. The point is, one of the tricky things about explaining all this stuff is that in explaining it all, we're using the communication half of attention. And that communication half of attention not only has to explain its own half of things, but it has to explain the experiential half as well, while keeping in the conveyed meaning the idea that these things are experiential first and foremost. Another way to distinguish between SI and NI is that SI, and this is something everybody has, is like muscle memory. If you practice the guitar, eventually your fingers know what a C is and they just go to it automatically, and a G, etc. And so SI is much more about learning, whereas NI is more about knowing. It's important to remember also that introverted intuition is not necessarily correct any more than introverted thinking is correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's as correct as it can be given. It's not correct due to a lack of intentionality on the person. You might intuitively draw the following conclusion. It might be the best intuitive conclusion to draw, and it could still turn out to be wrong. That you're just pressing meaning upon something that had none. So the thing is, TI is the most like the correctness function because it primarily negates. It's easy to be correct when you primarily negate. Because, and especially if you're negating primarily language. So somebody makes some dumbass claim with some dumbass not adequate justification, then TI is going to explain why that's the case. Or TI will point out, TINE in particular will explain that, but TI itself can point out simple contradictions and problems like that. It seems that a person can know something without knowing how. Well, you make a good point here, Lim. I think NI is the function that is least able to explain itself. Whereas, like, I can explain why something's TI wrong. I can explain why something's SI incorrect. Like, no, that didn't actually happen to me or something. I can explain the problems with TE as being an inefficient path towards the same outcome. I can explain problems of extroverted intuition as failing to account for enough possibilities or unintended consequences of very extroverted intuition argument. But NI is difficult because it's like, how do you know a fork's a fork? You just do. It's not because you remember it from last time you had a fork.
Imagine if it was.
Yeah. How come that song's great and that song's terrible? It's easier to explain why a song's terrible,
Yeah, it is.
but it's not easy to explain why a song's great, except that it does everything just right. It's like trying to explain what makes a car engine go. It's not any particular part or any combination of parts. It's all of the parts working in conjunction together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lovely day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking let's go around in the back maybe for a bit.
All right.
I bet the mosquitoes aren't out yet.
No, they're not.
5:15. I
Oh,
smell.
the window's open.
I know. It is open. You think I should close it?
No, you don't have to. You don't think? I mean, you don't think any bugs will get in it, right? That's the only reason.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're gonna take up residence in there. They might have like a fly through the car.
I hope they could fly through, and because the other one's open, they could fly out easily.
Here you go, creatures of the wood.
Oh, Mother Nature's son. You really are.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, there. I put some seeds out for the woodland friends.
Those birds are talking.
I watered the plants earlier today. And they're starting to really burgeon.
Yeah.
got the air conditioning on today, but probably don't really need it. I put it up to 70. It's quite pleasant outside.
Yeah, it is.
I can't really read the chat, so I don't know what you're saying. If you're saying anything. The reason I can't read the chat is because I don't have my glasses. I don't really know what I want to do right now either. I want to do something besides just sit and live stream. I want to engage with the world in some additional fashion. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why don't you just put on your boots, sir? Then all sorts of things are made possible. Well, that's a good point. It's a very good point. I successfully read those couple of things, actually. I had to, do the power look, making my eyes strain to see it. I guess I could eat more food. And I could put on some shoes and I could play pawn for a bit if I wanted to. I don't know. I just feel kind of wore out, I guess. But I would like to get something done. All right, let's take a gander at these boots here.
Those are good socks for working socks.
Yeah. They are.
Would you like me to order you some new socks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Maybe we need some new socks.
Yeah, you could use some.
I secretly drink more water than I let on. Now I can see the chat pretty well.
See, you're a man who can do.
Yeah. Squirrels are back. Get some more seeds.
Oh, hi, squirrels.
I started putting the seeds back here in the back so that I don't have to clean up the shells.
We might get a bear when it gets hot, and if the water's in the pool.
Yeah.
We might get a bear bath. I am fine with letting that happen. I'm just not going to. Maybe I'll take. I don't know. Should I take a picture? I feel like I'd be cautious, right? Yeah. So let it happen. Just don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with animals getting water.
No, me neither. I want frogs to be in there and stuff, and I want like goldfish and a mountain lion if it needs a bath too, like, or a drink.
Yeah. Putting on my socks.
Good doing. Look at my husband go.
Here I go. You know what I think I'm going to do before I put those shoes on is go get a pair of glasses. You can chill with Rachel for a minute.
I think I'm a pretty good chill person to hang with. Do you guys think so? Thank you, Winston's mom, for emailing me back. Like, that was great. Was that your son who was giving us the information about you and your computer? COVID was handled very well. No encroachment upon. Yeah, it would be weird if it wasn't, right, Fly Guy? Like, I don't know. I was like, after like the third time talking to Titan, I was like, oh, it's definitely gotta be like Winston's mom's son. Winston Mom says, Rachel, thank you for being concerned. Yes, it was my son's cell phone. I borrowed it to drop a message. Didn't want to leave a footprint on his phone, so I didn't comment very much. Thank you for letting us know, though. Seriously appreciate it. Oh, I like that title, Fly Guy. Rachel's Chill Island of Speculation and Gossip. So, I was looking, I'm the tri-type 964, and I was looking, I asked ChatGPT of some characters who are 964, and one of them was Daria Morgendorfer, Daria from Daria, and I was like, oh my god, like, I sound like her sometimes. She's a little bit more cynical. No, I haven't been following the Jeff Bezos, Lauren, Sanchez wedding. No. I don't like either of those people. Yes, what Winston's mom said, 964 Enneagram reference if you're new here. So it's the tri-type is part of Enneagram. It goes along with personality. It's more like affect. She seems like, but she's like internally, like, she's angsty. You know what I'm talking about, Fly Guy? I just explained D3, what Enneagram is. It's a person's affect. There's 9 numbers that are assigned to different types of personalities. So I'm 9. I'm a 9. So my affect is going to appear calm, harmony loving, and amiable. And in the tri-type, what Winston's mom is saying is correct. 1 is for the head, not one the number, but the tri-type is comprised of the head, heart, and gut. It's like how you react to things, what you think is important. Thanks, Magic Sluggers. Yeah, show media, she's back. Everyone missed you, Winston's mom. Honestly, everyone missed you. Everyone was like speculating like what was happening, were the messages that we were getting actually from Winston's mom. So like, I was like, well, if you guys are concerned, I will definitely email you. When as in I'll email Winston's mom. Oh, look who's got his boots on.
Most of the way.
What?
I said most of the way.
Yeah, most of the way. Those boots are made for ponding.
Yeah, they are. Okay.
I feel bad for Winston's mom's situation. That's not fun when your computer crashes and your Chrome too. I don't having to rebuild all of that. Uh like I says, boots with laces. He's not screwing around.
Right. Right.
There he is.
There I am. You guys want to come with me?
Okay, my phone.
Okay. If you want to keep them, you can keep them. Do you want to stream?
No.
It doesn't matter to me.
I'm gonna chill and I'll take it when.
Okay. Okay. So I think what I want to do here is start work on incorporating the tiles. I'm going to go up these sides with these tiles that I have. And then I'll put the rocks on top of the tiles. But I'm going to need to mix some Portland cement, I think. I have this concrete that I've been mostly using, but I also got some Portland cement. I poured a fair amount of concrete down here. Well, all right. Let's do it. Let's do it like our name was Pruitt. So that means I'm going to have to go to the car and get the Portland cement out.
If you need me to take over at any point, let me know.
Okay, thanks. Is that where those plays came from? Supposed to have sand with this and gravel. Well, I don't have sand and gravel.
I gotta go in let some skis out.
Okay. Yeah, I might not end up staying outside either because of the mosquitoes. So I guess the skeets are out. I don't even know what I want to do today. Anyway. Take that, mosquito. Bring it. Hi, D3. Today is kind of a mad day, right? No Sage, hello. Keisha here, I guess. 24hourroofpoopers.com. Hi, Zamaro. Squiggle Squaggle to you too. No roof, no poop. No justice, no pee. So I don't know what to do with them that day any more than anybody else does. I don't know what makes today so mad. Actually, maybe I do know what to do with them that day. Maybe today just needs me to play it a wonderful song. It's possible. Otherwise, what am I going to do? Just sit and wait till I go to sleep? Just, well, just gonna have to sit here for the next 6, 7 hours. Wait till I go to sleep. Seems like a bad plan. Me too. That friend, weren't you? What? I had a friend in middle school who said he was so strong that he could flex his arm when a mosquito was biting him and it would explode. I believe your friend. I believe your friend was telling him 100% the truth. Yeah, life's one of those things where you're not always enthusiastic. I would like to always be enthusiastic and excited about whatever it is I'm doing. Like, come on, guys, let's go. We're going to have an adventure. But, like I said, life's one of those things where you can't constantly be excited about everything all the time. Even though you'd like to be. I'd like to always be like, wow, this thing I'm doing is so great. I love it so much. All the time. But instead, I have to roll along with the rhythms of the Adderall. It's a very lovely day today. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, lovely day, schmubbly day. What's that worth? And, it's worth sitting outside a little bit more than one might otherwise. Fighting off the skeets a bit. Not in the front. Skeets don't seem to go around in the front very much. Because it's far away from plants. Even though you think mosquitoes don't even eat plants. Good point. You make a valid point. Let's go around to the front. So maybe it's not because they're not near plants, but there's still less mosquitoes there. But I think it is because they're not near plants. But how am I supposed to know? What am I, some kind of mosquito expert? I can barely tell my ass from a trip to Jamaica. The main way I tell the difference between those two things is that my ass stays here. Hi, Ike. Tropical Ghost resolution for the year is to do a lot of fibbing. Well, that's a fun goal. Let's get excited like Dr. Stone. I had another friend who told me that she always heard mosquitoes are annoying but important to the ecosystem, but some scientists looked into what the impact would be if they disappeared, and it was negligible. Thanks, Rachel. It's German engineered by Osvix. Looks like we got a package coming. So, what would bats eat if not mosquitoes? Who needs bats? Hey, how you doing? I hear all the dog whistles. Huh. Well, maybe that's because you're a dog. Thank you. I don't know what this is. Something for Rachel. Some makeup, probably. It doesn't say Sephora on it. It says MAC. M-A-C. That might be a kind of makeup too, you know. I think Macaulay Culkin should come back to do another Home Alone. Even though he's full-blown adult now, he's still very scared about being left home alone from his childhood trauma. And he's still living with his parents. Are those two actors still alive?
I agree with you that Macaulay Culkin should come back to make another Home Alone.
Thanks, Sterling.
Yeah.
Still home alone. Still, no, like I said, still home,
See?
still alone.
Neighbor's dog.
Hi.
Wow, you're excited.
This is a good
Hi,
dog.
dog.
This is Crazy Eyes.
Hey, Crazy Eyes.
I don't think that's really Crazy Eyes' name.
No, it's not. She's so pretty. I don't have a toy. Oh, yes.
She's very sweet, too.
Oh, don't leave me. Thanks for the kisses. Aw.
You're shedding a lot, Crazy Eyes.
Yeah.
Did you see Crazy Eyes as Crazy Eyes? One of them is blue and one of them is brown.
I know he's the kindest, isn't he? Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh.
What a silly dog. That's not for you, Crazy Eyes.
Hi.
She's a sweet dog. You want some water or something? Here. You want some water? No? Guess not. I guess she's not thirsty. I would imagine she's got water at home, so, you know. No, don't do that. Kicking up the dirt over there. Making a mess. She better not go get into my plants. I don't see her anywhere, so that's good. There she is. Hi, Crazy Eyes. Why don't you go home now? How about that? I'll have to keep an eye on her, I guess. I don't even know where she went. There she is. No, Crazy Eyes. No, no, no. Thank you. Come on. Yes, you're a good girl. Thank you for going back away from there. My high hip syndrome is really acting up. Some sweatpants ties are better than others. These ones are like the worst. These pants are just constantly falling down. Well, I guess Crazy Eyes is going home. I will put my tatamis on. All that boot putting on for nothing. I guess I just didn't have quite enough gumption to do things today. Maybe I could eat a piece of pizza. That sounds like something I might be able to do. Let's take a gander at the pizza. So, earlier we went to town because I had to go get cigarettes. And we got pizza. Should I start the dishwasher?
Yeah, let me get some things. Make sure here's something to put in. And I can do one more.
Rachel doesn't believe in running the dishwasher unless it's full. Just figure it'll get on the next train, you know. Hi there, Purple McGee.
Thank you. It's nice having a dishwasher. When that works too, you know.
TI being emotionless? Well, it's being disinterested. Like a referee or a judge, right? So the reason the referee called a foul on Mia is not because he wants the Lakers to win or because he wants to whatever. It's because he believes that's objectively the right call. What is modal logic? I'm gonna Google it. I see. It's like quantification theory for probability. So you have possible, necessary, impossible, I guess. Not possible. So that's what quantification theory does to conditional logic. Let to include some, all. So the modal logic does that for conditional logic with possibly and necessarily. Modal logic. Hi, bye, hello. How are you? Me, I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. Well, it's like it adds new statement connectives or functions. So Like in regular conditional logic, all the statements are either true or false or no truth value. Whereas it doesn't have any way of accounting for things being true some of the time. What is this? I don't know what that is. Okay, samba ball, if you say so. So conditional logic has things have, like Bob and Sue went to the store, P and Q, right? Possible truth values are true and false if you do a truth table for it. If you add quantification theory, then you can say things like there exists at least one instance of something that has the following attribute. Yeah, I have talked mad about it the last 2 years and never got around to it this year. Who are you saying good girl to? Me? Am I a good girl? Humans do not use the name No Stage on YouTube is false. Well, the statement would be there. The way you put it in quantification theory is there does not exist any instances such that a person on YouTube has the attribute no sage. Girl, you get cranky with that marijuana? What do you mean cranky? Like in a bad mood? Like that kind of cranky? No, it doesn't put me in a bad mood. If you mean to does it provide a speedy effect? Not really. Well, but without it, no, I don't get moody without it or with it. Really, it's just maybe it makes me feel a little more chill sometimes. Depends on. Now, modal logic is a later thing. Start with just regular conditional logic, then you go to quantification theory, which includes quantifiers. Then you go to modal logic, which includes possibilities, probabilities. So it's just the same thing as conditional logic, except you're adding new things. Like in conditional logic, you have just statement connectives of and, if then, if and only, if not, and or. In quantification theory, you add two rules of inference, I think they are, and then modal logic will add more functions, right? Because like essentially statement connectors are like functions, and if you can set them up as a circuit even. Uh, sure, it's probably like, you know, I think the basic question of understanding that like two probables don't make a necessary is basic kind of machine code level modal logic. The way Flo describes you as a problem solver in the relationship sounds a little mechanical. Oh, that's Katie. That Katie. Katie's not an ISTP. That's ridiculous. I don't think so.
You spend time with her.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case at all. And what made you find this out, Katie? How did you find it out? Okay. Well, he should know how to type TI. Maybe he's right. I don't remember if I ever actually formally typed her or not, but yeah, I guess if I never typed you, then what do I have to say about it? Yeah, Surge. Sure, that sounds about right in this age. Well, most people who talk with you, Lady Katie, have no idea how to do anything typologically, so I wouldn't put any weight in that.
Um,
But if Taylor says you're TI, Dom, then presumably he gave real TI tests, then so it goes. I don't have any horse in this race. Obviously, I don't care what type you are.
and boom.
That's called disinterest. No one's feelings or morals are based on logic, really. Your feelings are based in feelings, and morals are complicated matter. Um, and it can be right or wrong about whether something's righteous, and you don't need to have the right justifications for that. You can do it with intuition or feelings or logic. But even people who do it with logic, I don't think really. The reason something appalls the conscience is because it appalls the conscience, not because of some TI justifications.
So when you read the reading of Winston's Mom, what did you think? Did it resonate with you?
Logic can do that in this age. Logic certainly can justify all negative rights arguments and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that's not really the reason why people don't want to be wicked or evil, right? It it's natively painful to most people to hurt somebody else or something else, It's not it doesn't feel good. Is that an FI thing? Maybe. Is it the point is it's not a logical it's not logic that prevents you from smashing a baby's head in,
No.
it's it's something more holistic than that.
That seems so annoying.
Well, sure. People distinguish between uh, matters of ownership. In other words, if I own something, right, definitionally, we have a clear understanding what that means. We can define it operationally, and I can ground ought or should statements based on the fact that implicit in the definition of ownership is the notion of theft, and the reason it doesn't sustain as just to steal is not just because it doesn't universalize, but more importantly because it violates negative rights, all of which are born of principles of ownership.
No,
So we
I'm.
do that all the time. That's not it's not a problem of being able to, right? Yes, we can make TI justifications for why you shouldn't violate rights. And yes, those will be either correct or incorrect. But that's not the only way to determine one's behavior, and very few people can determine what one's behavior is based on a purely negative construct, right? It says these are things you should not do, and has no. Where TI cannot make successful arguments is what one ought to do because those things don't universalize. I've gone over this before, no Sage, plenty of times. The thing to remember is this: it's never the case that somebody's not making some kind of an argument when the matter is relevant. I mean, remember that, then we don't have any problems. Because obviously, people make distinctions regarding the righteousness of things, but the only distinctions you can justify adequately are that rights violations are bad. No, it's not got so many assumptions baked into it. What we're talking about is, do you own your own body? Do you have control and ownership of it? And everything else follows from it. It's just, look, the point is, let's say you were going to make an argument in favor of something, and I were to negate it on moral grounds. I'd negate it under a rights framework. You'd be justifying it under a utilitarian framework. And so, accordingly, you're stuck with your framework just as I'm stuck with mine, and I can win under both, and you can win under both. That's how things really work in the actual world, argumentationally, right? And that's what matters. It doesn't matter that if you say, like, in a vacuum, you can do whatever, it doesn't matter because that's not how ideas work. Well, no, Sage. I mean, I could go through a whole line of argumentation explaining that obviously I'm going to define it as mia or mia, right? But the point being that one common definition is that's used is exclusive right to destroy. Um, but it basically conveys legitimate control over that somebody else trying to take control of the thing would do so illegitimately. It's a legitimacy distinction. And so there's no doubt that we do make legitimacy distinctions. If you were to argue in favor of something that involved violating rights, you'd be doing so by saying that it's legitimate because of utilitarian justifications. In other words, you can't advocate anything without having some position on the legitimacy question. So the idea that somehow logic is inadequate to deal with legitimacy questions is completely insane because it's the only thing that's capable of dealing with them. But those are questions of words, right? Claims that are made, advocacies that are made, things like that. And we need to remember that most people um, don't prioritize abstractions over experiential realities very, very long or very hard, including people like me, right? So I might think to myself, oh, I'm going to be tough and I'm going to tough out this discomfort for some period of time. Well, that's not going to last very long. No, no, Sage, I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is I'm not starting an argument here where I'm advocating anything. So the point is, what I'm telling you is that if I were to advocate for something, I would advocate under a rights framework. And if you were advocating under a utilitarian framework, then I'd know how I'd want to argue it, right? Because it would depend on whether you made your framework explicit and lots of other things. In other words, you cannot meaningfully remove the argument from an actual argument, right? So Yes, I could define it in multiple different ways. I gave you one perfectly good definition, exclusive right to destroy. But the thing is, what you need to remember is definitions are operationalized to do certain things for certain reasons. You're trying to remove the question of how to define it from the actual case being made. But I'm not making any case, right? So what I'm saying is, yes, I could make many different cases in favor of a rights framework, in favor of ownership, in favor of all kinds of things that are necessarily linked to ownership and a rights framework. And you could make arguments against. I would win because of how and where you double bound yourself. So it would depend on how and where you double bound yourself. You utilitarians are unavoidably going to double bind themselves because it's wrong. That's how we know it's wrong and not the other thing is that it inevitably results in either justifying anything based on an interested calculation of the impacts or it double binds itself. Okay, well, if you're not utilitarian at all, then you agree that we can determine moral matters by our rights framework. What do you think about pushing LGBT propaganda onto kids? I don't think that's happening. I don't think anybody is going to be gay or straight based on some thing that somebody tells them when they're kids. So it's like, you can't both say, no, Sage, that you're not utilitarian at all, and also argue that you can't justify rights frameworks. Why would you prefer rights frameworks then? Divine command theorist? Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Then you do have an alternative perspective. Of course, you can't substantiate that, but it's like you're missing the point of words entirely. It's like that's exactly what words can and do. That's exactly what they do. They explain things, they justify things, they justify either moral arguments, prescriptive claims, descriptive claims. That's what words do. The idea that somehow words can't do the only and most important and singular thing that they do is insane. That's just completely batshit crazy. There's a total failure of understanding what words do.
Well, that's after he breaks up with her fly guy.
You'll note, no, Sage, that you're trying to use words to do exactly that. You're just using a different justification.
You don't want to just ghost her. That's cruel.
Who's ghosting whom?
Lovebug says, how should I break up with my girlfriend since your wife doesn't approve of us? I just don't want to make her cry.
Why does my wife not approve of you?
Because of that huge... He's 35 or she's 35 and the girlfriend is 17.
Oh, I don't believe that at all. I think this person's just bullshitting.
I do too. That's what the conclusion that I came to was.
So, fuck off.
I say make her cry.
I mean, you're making moral claims with words right there, No Sage. You immediately double bind yourself. Why should we think you can use words to make moral claims, but I can't?
Yeah, that's not fair at all.
It's just insane, right? That's what words do. Just as you're using words to make claims that we're supposed to understand and say this is accurate as opposed to some alternative which is inaccurate. But you're double binding yourself just by saying that because obviously if words can't be used to express meaning regarding morality, then your words are just a bunch of blah, 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 blah. So you got to think before you commit yourself to a bad line of argumentation. You got to remember what words do, right? They do what you're trying to do with them. That includes arguments other than the one you're making. They have better substantiation than the one that you're making, which is predicated on the idea that words can't do that. So you have to think through your things before you voice them out loud. Certainly, God is not subsumed by your words. Any meaningful understanding of God says, your words cannot argumentationally contain him, nor subsume matters of divinity. You can't make successfully arguments meow meow about God, except to say that you can't make arguments about it. Now, what you can do is listen to Eric and be sensible. You can argue that a theory is the truth. That's fine. In fact, all people do is argue in favor of this or against that, etc. There's never not arguing that something's the truth. Anytime somebody's affirming something, they're saying this is true implicitly. But what you can't do is simply say that because of some fundamental inadequacy of language, therefore God.
What?
No. And that's all you're doing, no Sage. So, no. Language is perfectly capable of doing the thing you say it can't do, and it's certainly better capable of doing it than some revealed sacred truth of your magical thinking frame could ever be utilized argumentationally. So you've got to be honest with yourself about what a magical thinking frame is for, what argumentation is for, where argumentation is never well suited, never welcome. Argumentation should never be welcome where faith is, because faith is definitionally belief in the absence of evidence or in the face of contrary evidence. So that's why, of course, argumentationally, we should never include any faith-based stuff in any arguments about anything. And if you do that, then you're just spitting in God's face. So I tell these people all the time that come around, Christians and stuff, that they are spitting in God's face, making God face palm, not listening to Eric, and therefore not listening to what is correct. I'm so confused. Why aren't you oiling up? Good question. Excellent question.
Mm-hmm.
What is? I don't want to argue about all this shit. The reason I don't want to argue is because there's nothing to be gained by the clash. Normally, in a debate round, what happens is you have a clash where two people debate against each other, and they're on point, right? This person says point me out, this person says clash, point me out. And then through that methodology, you can determine who's correct, because the implicit rhetorical slope of the thing, and a bunch of other stuff. The reason I don't want to debate things here, make arguments, define things, etc., is because I have no business doing any of that. It's like, if you want me to explain it to you correctly, what the correct thing is, I will. If you don't want me to explain it to you because you just want to give a bunch of pushback, then I'm not going to bother arguing with you, because I've worked all the fucking details out of all this shit already. I'm not going to bother. You might not think that I'm exclusively correct about these things, but I'm explaining what I'm explaining, but you're wrong if you don't think that. And I don't want to spend the time right now to convince you of it. Not that I would convince you of it, probably anyway, but people think, like, oh, anybody can do that. Anybody can explain things. Like, my armchair philosophy is just as good as any other armchair philosophy. It's not the case. But you're committed to certain narratives. You've got them linked to your magical thinking frame, which means there's no dislodging them. All I want to do is bring correctness to the people. For the people, they do not want it. They take my correctness and they throw it in the trash.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just saying, that's what happens with all the correctness I bring to the world. They don't like it, understandably. I do know why. Because nobody likes to be corrected. And people, understandably, though incorrectly, think that their musings are of equal validity as anybody else's. It's not that they're not equally valid, it's just that they're inadequately insightful or skilled, one of the two, or both. Because they require both. I mean, I guess the best way to think of it is this. This may be the most teachable way to think about it. In what way can you better validate, say, a descriptive statement than a normative statement? And why? In either instance, you're going to be pointing to some externality. And the right calculus will be towards some framework that's understood, to be used as a starting spot for law, etc. This is a gray lighter. Is a sentence that makes sense. Throwing this at Rachel would be bad. Is a sentence that makes sense. This lighter is immoral is not a sentence that makes sense.
Nope.
Because you can't make normative claims about non-agents. So, it's pretty straightforward. It's not any different than validating any other kind of statement. And of course, if you want to talk about principles underlying the rights framework, you'd say reciprocity, because that's the value underlying universality. Because you can universalize negative prohibitions, like a duty of non-interference. You can only universalize very few duties and have them uphold under a value of reciprocity. And those are negative rights-based duties. Negative rights never come into conflict with each other except in one issue. So that just means it's not properly calculated by rights, that issue. Because as a rule, rights never come into conflict with each other. Hi, Eric. I have this hip new moral theory called evolutionary utilitarianism. What are your thoughts? Right out the gate, I'm loving it. I'm thinking, wow, it contains two of my favorite concepts. What's the topic here? Well, we were talking about morality and, whether things are good or bad. Whether or not salsa is good or bad. I say it's good.
I like picante better.
Is this picante?
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to, but yeah, it's not sauce. Who's a badass man with rough tattoos? Not me. You have a skunk living at your house. Good or bad? Well, that would be a prescriptive thing. Like, if you want to have a house that's free of smells, then I prescribe the solution of getting rid of the skunk.
Boom.
That wouldn't be a normative thing. There's no moral status either way to it because, yeah, it's fake beer. Because the skunk animals don't have rights. That doesn't mean we oughtn't afford them dignity and good treatment, but they don't have rights.
I think that, like, yeah, like you said, I think that about lab rats who get tested for makeup. I feel like there's no reason for rats to be tested, or like animals, I don't think of that.
Well, it may or may not be something we ought to do as a positive thing, like we should stop doing that. We should not test on animals or something. But it's not a moral issue per se,
No.
because it's a matter of positive indications. Positive moral indications don't universalize.
Oh, I see. That's why I don't like it.
I don't think anyone's moral compass morality is different all over the world. Well, you can describe different ways of calculating morality, and what I'm describing is a way of calculating morality that pays attention to whether or not right universalizes and the duties and obligations ensuing therefrom. If you would like to argue that some other standard of evaluation is preferable, you're certainly capable of doing that. The point is, people do use some kind of moral calculation everywhere in the world, and we're best suited when we use a moral calculation that universalizes, which is to say, nobody gets special treatment.
It should be tested on people.
I mean, I do and can calculate morality, and so do you. So can you. You think certain things are wrong. Maybe because you're very loyal to that person, or maybe because you find it precious, or whatever, for whatever reason. But we all do make moral calculations. My wife? No, Big 13th. She's not. She's married to yours truly. Well, in part it's called naming things correctly, digital wizardry. So, for example, if some crazed madman comes in and burns down your house and, you know, harms your family, you're going to feel as though you've got cause to object, right? That you've been wronged in some way. And you'll have reasons why you've been wronged. And those reasons can be correctly articulated or incorrectly. Thank you, Big 13th. Appreciate it. I don't want them killed, so I'm waiting it out. It really doesn't stink, except it sprayed once, which was the worst smell ever. So I'm just hoping it doesn't do it again. Yeah, well, you're right about that for sure, lady. KT. Skunks smell bad when they spray.
Good lesson.
Fly Guy says we should test makeup on the people who design it. The heart, which contained a record of all the deceased's action in life, was weighed against the feather of the goddess Ma'at. The 42 laws of Ma'at. Who is Ma'at?
I feel like just so like models are there like for clothing, they like can test like they like test subjects. They have subjects for like various things, like in science. Like there's a lot of like things, and they test on people. I think that makeup can be one of those things, because then you get like you understand like people's undertones and coloring.
Okay, so it's cause and effect in the sense that somebody violated your rights, and that may caused you to make a moral claim, right? That you have been wronged. You couldn't. You don't call the police and say um, something totally fair and fine just happened, right? The point is, people do make moral claims. Digital wizardry, whether you like that idea or not, plenty of people make moral claims all the time, and they justify them in a variety of different ways with different arguments and different justifications. They're not all equal, right? Anytime you've got multiple sets of argumentation arguing different positions on something or different justifications on something, they're not ever going to be all equal. Some of them are what you call voters, have maximal relevance. Some of them have minimal impact on the argument as a whole. Sometimes I guess I'm just in less of a mood to have people express incorrect positions than others. You know, like other times sometimes I'm in the mood for it. I'm in kind of like a piao piao mood. But right now I'm really not in that mood. Mot was an Egyptian religion that basically was representing truth, justice, and balance. Those, each of those three things is very different from the others. Okay, but what would make you think that moral issues aren't issues of causing and affecting? They're taking action in a way that's rights violating, so that causes you to have your rights violated, which is to say to be justifiable in your claims of being wronged. There isn't any under my house. Isn't that kind of weird? There's no under the house here at all.
No, because there is no under the house.
Exactly. There is no under the house because there is no under the house. Like, it's just this ground floor is the ground level. I don't know how else to explain it besides this. There is no under the house. I mean, like the house is sitting directly on concrete, you know? There's no, like normally in a house you have a little thing
Yep.
that you can look at, go and
Yep.
peek in underneath the house, right? The other house had it underneath the house. This house doesn't have any.
Yeah. Yeah, and what Eric means by the other house, like, even like the Arcadia house.
Oh yeah, Arcadia house had under the house too, yeah.
Even though it was a ranch, and like, you know, it still had it under the house.
You're on concrete pad? I think that's what we're on too. Concrete pad.
Yeah. It's gotta be, right?
Yeah. Sharon Burger. How your underhouse looks depends on where in the country you are. Huh. Well, our underhouse doesn't look like anything.
We had in Franklin Square, there was a basement, which means they had to like dig under for it.
I mean, it is true, digital wizardry, that some people try to justify moral claims with religious arguments. Some people do not try to do that. And Obviously, if I'm making a moral claim and justifying it with a non-religious argument, then I am not making a religious argument, right? The point is, it's not a. It's an issue that can easily be argued, and some arguments are preferable to others. But I get it that I'm moving through a world where, like, basically nobody thinks about words the same way that I think about words. And accordingly, I'm always running into the same problem, which is people are a lot more comfortable with words as object of analysis than they are with words as, I guess, process. Process of doing certain kinds of intellectual work. Houston has no basements. Our ground is flat. We don't have any basement here. We got an attic.
Yeah, we got an attic.
And kind of right time of day can be kind of spooky attic as well because it's got this. It looks like a hanging rope in there.
Weird.
It's not a hanging rope, I'm sure, but it's what it looks like.
We believe in INTJ built this house. Like, not came up with the design for the house.
Yeah. It's a really. It's just. It's really well thought out. And it's got everything the house could come with. And whatever they got, I suspect it was the best available at the time. It's got everything from a dishwasher to the good kind of washer and dryer, which is to say they're both top loading. None of that front loading garbage. Or maybe the dryer is front loading. The dryer is front loading, but
Yeah,
the washer is the only one that matters. The washer is top loading, and that matters for obvious reasons. You want the bottom of the thing to drain away.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's got dishwasher, it's got washer and dryer, it's got a trash compactor, it's got a whole house vacuum. I'm sure I'm not thinking of something. It's got a huge hot water heater. We rarely run out of hot water. It's not just that they end up leaking, Katie. It's that they stink. They get all mildewy smelling. And it's this whole extra regimen of cleaning you have to do to prevent them from getting all mildewy and gross. Horrible. Everybody should have a top-loading washing machine.
Yes.
It has a stove too. I forgot to mention the stove. Stove's not a big stove, but does the job just fine. My friend is mad at me and won't talk to me now. I'm sorry to hear that, Tibbly-winks. What did you do? Did you poop on his doorstep? Here I am. I like that idea a lot. I have a feeling it won't work, but that's one way to solve that problem. Your front loader's leaking. Does it also make the place smell like mildew? My guess is yes. Religion offers one a sense of reward that one can believe has a decent chance of happening. There will be also fear of punishment. I don't think that's my relationship with anything. I didn't do anything. She's mad because abuse. I'm going camping and won't be able to talk to her all of next week since I'm going camping. Well, you'll talk to her when you get back then.
She should be mad because of abuse. Her feelings about being abused are valid, is more what I mean.
Who's abusing her?
That is a good question. Who's abusing her? Are you? Her family? Her friends? What kind of abuse are we talking about here?
Oh. I was supposed to just say cuz.
Oh, because.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
she's mad because you're going camping?
Well, she's gonna have to get over
Yeah,
it.
she's gonna have to deal with that. That's life. She's gonna have to deal with it. That's it.
That's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this. Let's see what's on the televisor. Nothing really. Yeah, we're eating salsa. Well, actually, we're eating picante sauce. It's paste picante sauce.
I like picante sauce better than salsa because like most salsas have like big chunks of like smushy tomato in it, and I don't like the texture.
Smushados.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna play a song.
Yay! It's Eric's song time. Host Eric sings his hits.
I'm so tired of knocking those over. Why do I always knock those over? Oh yeah, she's into you. But she's got a boyfriend, so you don't want any part of her because she'll do the same thing to you then. Oh, that's right. I know what the sound that is. That's the dishwasher. Trouble?
You should be into someone who's single.
Trouble, I really would like you to move.
Want me to move him?
Um, that's okay. I'll move them eventually. Went to Mexico and camping. Gonna be gone all next weekend. This girl wants on his lap and he needs to see her. We can say, go away now, crazy girl. You've got a boyfriend. Do you know that? And accordingly, I'm not going to show you my crack. She's not my girlfriend. Okay, fine. Did I call you your girlfriend? I didn't mean to. How do you do? What do you think of the weather? How do you do? Is your mom's name Heather? How do you do? Would you like to a new pair of shoes? Then you can see what's up with Susan, Sue, and Jews, and then you'll want to know whether you will go out to a place you've never been before. No, you've been to Portland. I'm not talking about that, and sure I know that. You've been to Washington, D.C. Yeah, that is surely a fact. So I'm talking about a place other than those. Thank you, thank you. Very jazzy. The problem with these beats that this thing has is it only ever plays it in one sound. We could change the sound so that it would play the thing in, I don't know, different sound. Some kind of different sound. Let's try this one. play it now. Every time I play the piano, pretty much I try to play this song. But I always fuck it up. Well, that's about enough terrible piano playing in front of me. To play the piano, it requires a fair amount of enthusiasm. Although you'd like to think, if you're me, that by playing the piano you'll feel enthusiastic, doesn't necessarily work that way. She's for the streets. Who's for the streets? I got a cable in the mail. You guys want to look at it? I haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, let's look at it.
This is an unboxing video. Oh, you want to be that way, huh? All right, let me see if I can open this thing. There. Here we are. Got 2 1/4" to RCA. And the reason is because now I can put everything through this. Oh, you like vacuuming as well? Hey, vacuum lover 1. You are in the proper place because I am also a big lover of vacuums. I think I remember you being here before, maybe. These are cables that will go from this thing, the PA/mixer. It's a PA that's got a mixer on it, basically. And then this will go out of these RCAs to these 2 ends on the sound card. So I can mix more than 2 things here and record it as a stereo out. If I wanted to. Do you have Street Fighter? I don't have Street Fighter, no. And also, I'm not a Street Fighter by nature. I'm a street not fighter.
I really thought you were.
No, unless it's a grizzly bear or a great white shark, then I try to be not so much punching people,
It's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Like Stony Bologna Toasted. Yeah, I've got a whole house vacuum. That's right, I do indeed. And I use it to vacuum stuff up sometimes. But I also have a Dyson push vacuum, and I also have a shop vac. Because I'm a big vacuum lover. Maybe not as much of a vacuum lover 1, who makes their whole name vacuum lover. I can't compete with that. But I do love vacuums. They're one of the few machines that I can generally figure I can fix it myself if it breaks down or if it has any problems with it. Unless the motor blows out or something like that. But I do good maintenance on my vacuums. What did I like? Why would I have done such a horrible thing? Put my glasses down before I go outside. I look tired. I feel tired. I'm still obviously running a sleep deficit. There's only one cure to that, and that's sleeping. What is that? I don't know. Alright, I guess I gotta go get my glasses. I don't want to get my glasses. I'm so lazy right now. I'm the laziest man in the world. I'm too lazy to even do nothing. If I were just super lazy in a good way, I'd just be fine with just vegging and watching TV. Instead, it's like I want to do something, but I'm too lazy to do anything. I think they call them crazy eyes. I could go tell them I saw her earlier. How long ago was that? How long have I been streaming for? It's reset, I think, at some point. Isn't that weird? As some dogs have one eye that's brown, one eye that's blue. That's what crazy eyes are like. How does it get like that? Oh, I know. It's evolution. That's proof right there. Pretty soon, one of those eyes is going to turn into a laser eye. When I finally get around to evolving, I'd like to evolve at least, if not laser eyes, then at least flashlight eyes. So that when it's dark out, I can just beam of light, see whatever it is I'm looking at. But I can also turn it off. Those little stinkers. Whose are the little stinkers? A little stinkers brand poo smell enhancer. It's a chemical that you put in the toilet with your poo that makes the poo smell more, put out more stink lines. Just have an excuse to take your eye out and put a fake one with a flashlight in. No, no, no. I have to evolve that, okay? Slowly over the course of tens of years. Obviously, you don't get how evolution works. I could evolve whatever, whenever, okay? You never know when just bang, mutation, flashlight eyes. Flashlight eyes, I think most people would agree, probably better than laser eyes. Because you don't really need to cut things down with your eyes very often. Hey, thanks a lot. Wow. What a wonderful person you are, Vacuum Lover One. Let's go look at my vacuum. Let's go love it. Let's not just look at it. Let's go love it. First, let me just say, this is a very lovable vacuum here too. This shop vac. This Craftsman shop vac I have. It's quite vacuum-rific. Lightweight, wet dry, 12 volt. You can vacuum just about anything with that. And then this vacuum. Oh, I have to clean the cat box. Right here, the old Vacuum Flow. Vacuum Flow 460. The vacuum of tomorrow, today. This is the worst job of all. I'm actually trying to phase out the cat box. Maybe bring it back when it snows real heavy or something temporarily, but I wouldn't hate it if it just went outside, Alright. That was horrible. Ugh. Nobody likes to clean the cat box. 1400 watt. Yeah, I'm not sure. We didn't install it ourselves. It's a lovely evening outside. If you're into that sort of thing. I would say the temperature is probably about 74 degrees. If Rachel is inside, you have lightning bugs, huh? We have things that are a lot like lightning bugs. They're called mosquitoes. We do have some kind of bug that has phosphorescence, but it doesn't fly around. I see it in little holes sometimes. I'm not sure what it is. Some kind of glowworm or something. 80, huh? Wow. Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy 80. I got 6 degrees off. Guess I need to reset my thermostat. Now I know this is 80. Well, that's how long it took for the mosquitoes to find me. They do find you eventually. But maybe if you're not sweating and you're still, they don't, not so much of a problem. I'm trying to water my plants as deep as I can, like my mom was always a big believer in soaking, giving the plants a very deep soaking, a little bit less often. But these things, they're just, they seem to be just sucking up the water, so I just keep watering them. They're looking so healthy and big. They're not big yet, but healthy. And they're growing. Their bigness is just beginning to bloom. Just get away, mosquitoes. Nobody wants you around. Fern. I like that fern down there. It's a good fern. It says, I'm here, I'm fern, and that's nobody's business but my own. One hit my windshield one time. Made a square inch of windshield glow in the dark 10 minutes from our ride home. Well, it evolved to do that so that you could have an exciting show on your windshield. Over the course of millions of years, it slowly evolved into glowing. Now, you can tell when it hits your windshield. Thanks, glow flies. These mosquitoes, they are not getting the message. I keep telling them, look, go somewhere else. You're not welcome here. I say rude things about them. They don't seem to get the message. That's okay. Now I'm safe inside the garage, where no bugs can ever get. Alright, let's go close the garage door, go in the house. Oh, this is going to be locked. Yes, it is locked. That's fine. We'll go in this way.
I love you.
I love you too, darling. 106 mile per hour winds, huh?
That's crazy.
Um, good day to have a wind turbine.
Mmm.
Just think of all the electricity you could generate.
Yeah.
Great day to fly a kite. You could really get it high up there. Well, I guess I'm going to wrap up this live stream. And I wonder how they managed to mate before they evolved that trait. I can't tell what you are. How am I ever going to know who to hump now? Okay, so I'm going to end this stream. I think I'm just going to watch some TV. Broke on the ground like a beta. Humpty Dumpty. He sat on the wall, but that was ill-advised. So anyway, I'll see you all later. Thank you for being here. I love you all. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas.